Hello, and welcome to this session of Extreme Connect, where we'll be talking about starting your effortless journey. I'm Aren Gates, and Senior Technical Marketing Engineer with Extreme Networks. Just a quick reminder, we do have a live chat, so if you have any questions during the presentation, go ahead and put them in, and we have people monitoring that. Joining me today will be Javier. Javier, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Aren. So I'm Javier Solis, Senior Product Manager with Extreme Networks. And today we're really excited to be sharing with you the effortless journey on how to configure, manage, and monitor not just wireless devices, but also wired devices in ExtremeCloud IQ. So we're going to go over a brief overview of some of the items that we're going to be discussing. So we're going to start off with showing you how to create an account and then how to onboard a VOS switch along with configuring that switch. And then also just exploring some of the monitoring capabilities and topology views that you will gain, not only with just your switching components, but also with your wireless access points as well. So I'm going to hand it over to Aren, and he's going to go over setting up the ExtremeCloud IQ account.
Thanks. So the first step on your journey in this effortless experience is creating an ExtremeCloud IQ account. And by the end of this, we hope that you will see how easy it is to migrate your existing Extreme architecture into ExtremeCloud IQ. So like we said, starting off, you have the ExtremeCloud IQ account. To get there, you can navigate to extremenetworks.com/cloud-networking. And you'll see this form pop up that asks you for a couple bits of personal information, as well as your choice in data durability or data retention. The idea here is we'll get your email address, your name, some contact info in the event of a GTAC call. And then you get to choose the country is going to dictate where your RDC is. So in other sessions or other presentations, we've probably talked about how our fourth generation cloud has RDCs around the world to help make the experience quicker and easier for you, no matter where you're located. And then below that, we'll choose your data retention. So we've offered this new data retention selection for unlimited data. Basically, from the day that you join CloudIQ till the day you, well, hopefully you don't leave CloudIQ, we will keep all of your data. That is the metadata coming out of the network. So when a client on your network watches Netflix, we keep that data that they watched Netflix, and then we can report that up. Or if a client experiences any issues that require troubleshooting, be it 2 weeks or 2 years ago, we can recall that data and bring it up for analysis or to help better understand your network. The other option is also 90 days. So let's say you don't need necessarily unlimited data. You only want 90 days of data. You can go ahead and select that. And then once you've filled out that form and selected your data retention and your country, we'll send you an email. And that's on the right-hand side of the slides here. And that email is going to basically say, hey, we got your form. We know that you want to set up an account. Why don't you click here and you can continue setting up your password. So then on the left is the web page you'll be brought to once you click that setup password. And that's just pretty straightforward, set up your password website. So what you do is you'll come in here, set something up, hopefully a strong password, letters, symbols, numbers, uppercase, lowercase, 30 characters, whoever has 30 character passwords. And then you'll click next. And on the right-hand side, you'll be brought to being able to choose between going with the free tier of ExtremeCloud IQ, which we call Connect, which allows you to, since it's aptly named, connect your devices to ExtremeCloud IQ and get some monitoring out of it. Or you can start your 30-day free trial of ExtremeCloud IQ Pilot, which is the next tier above Connect and allows you some configuration and further machine learning insights and eventually AI insights. And that's what we're going to be looking at today is going to be the pilot level of ExtremeCloud IQ. And what we've done is we've done that middle option, which is put in your license key. So one of the beautiful things about ExtremeCloud IQ is the portability of our license keys. And by that, I mean, one key is good for every device. If it's a switch, if it's an access point, if it's a VOS switch, which we'll be showing you the onboarding of today, or an XOS switch, or even the new universal hardware coming out, no matter what it is, it takes one license. So we have gotten a license, we've put it into our account, And then we hit next, and we were brought to the initial page for monitoring. And with that, I'll hand it over to Javier, and he'll run us through onboarding our VOS switch so that we can see just how effortless it is.
Thanks, Aren. So yeah, we're going to go through and show you how easy it is to go ahead and add a new device. So as you can see here within our ExtremeCloud IQ portal, we already have a couple of devices that have been added in AP650, and we also have some 440G2 XOS switches that have already been added. So to add a device, we're going to go ahead and just have you click on the plus button there, and we're going to go to and do a quick add of devices. And so we're actually going to go ahead and select real. This is a real switch, but there is an option to do simulated devices as well, such as access points. And we're going to go over to our device make and make sure that we have chosen VOS. But just to also see, you can also onboard other device types as well. So you can onboard a wing controller, XOS switch. You can onboard different switches that are compatible with an ExtremeCloud IQ. So we'll go ahead and choose VOS. So we also have the ability to onboard more than one serial number through this onboard process. So we're going to go ahead and just enter one serial number. However, you can bulk add serial numbers via CSV file, or you can add multiple serial numbers within the box separated by commas. So we'll go ahead and put our serial number in there for our VOS box. And then we're going to go ahead and assign the device to a particular location. So this location is going to be assigned to our floor 1, which all of the rest of our devices are already assigned to. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and select a policy. So we can choose not to put or install a policy to a device, but we've already created one here, which will go into more details, which is our effortless experience policy. And the policy is basically going to contain all of the configuration that you want to push down to your switches and wireless access points. So we'll go ahead and finish up by clicking Add Devices. And now you can see that the onboarding process is starting. So when you take the switch out of the box, it will be enabled with zero-touch provisioning. And so what we're doing is we're just plugging in one of the ports into our switches, and we can start the onboard process by adding the serial number as we've just done. So what you'll notice is that there's going to be a couple of different fields that will start to populate during the onboarding process of the device. So we have a little green icon or red icon here. So you can see that the device has turned green, showing us that it's connected and it's starting to finish the onboarding process. We can see the serial number, the model type, the IQ agent version, and other things, as well as the host name of the switch. So we're actually going to go ahead and click on that VSP now that it's going through its onboarding process, just to show you some of what you can visualize. All right, so here's a VSP 4900 switch that we just onboarded. We have a nice graphical interface here that will show you the different ports, and we're using port 48 as our port for onboarding. So the really cool thing is you can click on a particular port, as we just did, and you can see detailed information for that particular port. The traffic received and sent, we can see the port speed, and other things can be shown here as well. So we have at the top, we can show the IP address of the switch, the software version. We have other widgets that can show fan health, CPU health, PoE health, and other items as that. And then if we scroll down on the left-hand side, we can actually look at a few other things from a monitoring perspective. We're going to go ahead and click on the Clients tab really quick. And so this is the tab that you'll start to have population of devices once they're actually connected to your switch that's onboarded. And then we'll show you the configuration portion. So right next to monitor, we have a configure option. So we'll go to port configuration and just show you some of the capabilities that we have from a port configuration standpoint. So we can actually configure VLAN information. Here we can configure an access port, a trunk port. We can define the types of VLANs that we want to provision on our port. Then we also have additional items that we can configure at the device level if we scroll up a bit here. We can see that we have other port settings. We have STP configurations that we can set at a port level. We also have storm control that we can configure at a port level, and then also power over Ethernet value that we can assign to the particular ports as well. But this isn't really the true power of our effortless experience, because these are individual configuration items that we're doing per device. We're going to hand it off to Aren, and he's actually going to show you how you can configure settings that would not just apply to one switch, but can apply to many switches during the onboarding process.
Thanks, Javier. So, like Javier said, the biggest part of our effortless experience is not that you can do one at a time. The biggest part is going to be that you can do your entire network at once. So you onboard all of your VOS or your XOS or your entire network of switches, and then you apply a policy to them, and that policy will configure them as you've prescribed. And so what we're going to do is hop back into ExtremeCloud IQ, and I'll show you the configuration that we just pushed to that switch in the configure and network policies section. So you saw when Javier was onboarding that switch that we selected the effortless experience network policy. This was a pre-made policy we did before this demonstration so that we had something to walk you through. And in order to look at that, I'm just going to click on the name of it. And we can see that this policy right here is made to encompass our wireless, our switching, and our routing. So one of the beautiful things about CloudIQ is I don't need to make separate policies for all three of those things. If I want one network to function as a cohesive unit, I can create a wireless policy, a switch policy, and a routing policy all in one area. So I'm going to go ahead and click on wireless network so we can see what we created and have Javier connect his devices to so we can look at them later on in the demonstration. I made this employee SSID. And for the purposes of our demonstration, we used private pre-shared key, which is one of those proprietary solutions that Extreme uses in order to give granularity and control in a simple PSK network. There's going to be other sessions on that, so I'm not going to spend too much time. But we've included this user group allowing the user employee to authenticate. And then we've added different user profiles, which is going to be how ExtremeCloud IQ denotes policies, depending on where that user is coming from. So you'll notice I have a marketing user profile, and if I click here, it puts them in VLAN 1, but it also has this firewall rule that will block certain traffic. So we can see that the firewall rules here are allowing any DHCP and DNS, but we also deny any private traffic. So marketing employees are not allowed to get to any of our internal servers. And then we allow anything else. And that's going to be different from how we treat sales employees, which is another user profile down here. So if we click in on that, you'll see that this policy or user profile, or the way that we treat users labeled as sales, does not include the firewall rules that our marketing user profile included. And so this is the SSID that our clients will be connecting to. We can have many more, up to 16 of them at any given time that's being broadcast. We ask, please don't do that, right? Proper wireless behavior is to have no more than 3 or 4. But if you need to, we can manage even more than 16 using our classification rules. But again, that's a topic for another day. So moving into device templates, this is going to be the scaffolding for how your devices should physically behave. I have created some access point templates for our 460Cs or the AP650 that you saw on the previous page that has been onboarded. So we can click in there. And we'll notice that we get to choose how the device behaves. From the wireless settings, should my radios be dual 5 gigahertz or 2.4 and 5? Do I want to change the radio profile itself? So that shows what channels are available to it, how it's going to treat specific clients with regards to load balancing or maybe encouraging 5 gigahertz usage. And then we come down here and we get to see our wired interface behavior. So both ports on our AP650 have been put into uplink, and that's good for redundancy because we can power a 650 off of either of those ports. We can probably put them into 2 different switches if we had the resources. We can also take these later and put them into a redundant group or into an aggregated group, depending on what your needs are. And then additionally, this is where we create switch templates, and I'm going to hand it back over to Javier to explain the switch templates.
Thanks, Aren. Yeah, so as Aaron said, it doesn't really stop with just configuring your wireless devices within ExtremeCloud IQ. We've expanded the capabilities to be able to, again, not just onboard the switches as you've seen, but also do configurations. So we have a few switch templates here that we've created. Now, a switch template is pretty unique in the fact that you can have this template, the settings within this template, be provisioned across more than one device. So earlier we showed you configuration settings available just for the specific VSP device, but we'll go through and show you on this core VSP 4900 48P template, the settings that we have enabled in here can actually be provisioned across many VSP 4900s. So we have a couple of nice configuration items here. So you saw a lot of great features in the wireless for configuration, and we've added tons new features for our switching product portfolio across Exos and VOS. And so you'll see here we have spanning tree configuration, so you can actually change your mode. You have detailed configuration items that are available for you, or you can leave everything at the default settings if you're happy with those. We have the ability to enable IGMP, MTU settings. We also have ability to toggle on and off power over Ethernet settings as well, and also flow control items. So if we scroll back up, we'll actually show you some of the port configuration items that we have defined in this template. So again, remember, this template can be applied to multiple devices. So what you could do here is you could define all of your access ports. So here we just have an example where we have an access VLAN 2 assigned to particular ports, but we can go ahead and drill into this particular port and see all the different items that we have available for configuration. So we have the VLAN, we have our additional port settings. So everything that we had at the one switch configuration item, we can apply a port type and apply this to a template that can be provisioned to many devices all at once. And then if we go back, we can, if we scroll down just a little bit, we can actually see you can also set up a trunk port. So I believe port 48 is the port that we're using for onboarding, but we've also defined, we can go and define which port is going to be our trunk port. So again, if all of your switches typically use port 1 or port 48 for your trunk port, you can define that within your template and have that provision to all of your switches. And then you, if we go back, we also have the ability to configure what we call supplemental CLI. So on the left-hand side, if you click on supplemental CLI, this is just a simple supplemental CLI that adds additional configuration beyond what's available within the GUI. So we're constantly adding additional features and enhancements to the GUI interface, but you also have the ability to do a few changes, if you will. If there's something not available, there's something more specific that you have to type in a CLI command, you can do it with the supplemental CLI, and again, have this be applied to all of your switches. So here's just a simple supplemental CLI where we're changing the management VLAN ID to 2. And if we cancel out of that, that concludes the configuration of our VSP profile, and I'm going to hand it over to Aren, which he will show you on how you can deploy all of these templates and other settings that are available to you as well.
Thanks. So to continue with our effortless experience, including those router settings, I'm going to do a brief look into what we include in that in our branch router templates, as well as our network allocation. And if you're feeling fancy, you can even include a VPN service that allows your branch routers to talk back to a corporate head end so that your branches feel like they're connected to corporate. Additional settings that includes things that will be sent out to the entirety of the network as well. So all of our switches, all of our access points, all of our branch routers will have their DNS servers configured to what we have here. So I've called it Effortless DNS. I've pointed it to some public DNS servers to make sure that they can resolve any queries they have. These can also be pointed to internal servers if you'd like. NTP is going to be a very important part of the networking experience. So I've also configured our own NTP server that will get pushed out to all devices. And what's happening on the back end here is ExtremeCloud IQ is converting all these settings into the CLI necessary and pushing it out to the switches and access points. And just to continue on for a couple more here, SNMP server is also configured, and syslog server, which currently is pointing to one of our internal syslog servers. So if you need some syslogs to be gathered for troubleshooting experience, we have that capability as well. And then you'll see on the left-hand side, there's myriad other settings that we can manipulate here for the rest of our policy. But instead, I'm going to show you how effortless it is to deploy this policy. So you'll notice that our VSP switch we onboarded has this red button over here saying, hey, there's some policy that you've configured that I don't have on me yet. So if we go to the Delta configuration view, we can actually see line by line every single command that ExtremeCloud IQ is going to write for us. And boy, when you talk about effortless, this really is effortless, because I would rather not have to type all of these out to every single switch that I own. So instead, I'm going to click close, and I'm going to hit the upload button and perform an update. And it's as easy as that. Now on the back end, our switch will take that configuration from CloudIQ, and in a couple seconds, minutes, it will be back up and configured exactly the way we want. And then along those lines, I'll hand it back over to Javier, and he's going to talk about monitoring your devices from ExtremeCloud IQ.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to now navigate over to our Network 360 monitoring view within ExtremeCloud IQ. And once we go to the Network 360 monitor view, there's a specific map here that will show our wireless access point and where it's located on the map via the location that we'd previously selected for the devices that we've onboarded. But we're going to move over to the topology tab. So the topology tab is a place where not only can you see your wireless access points, but you can also see the switches that we've onboarded. And so we can readjust items here on the map. But yeah, you can see that the VSP 4900 that we've recently onboarded is displayed here. And it's showing that it's connected back up into an Exos 440 G2 switch. And so we can look at details on connectivity between those two types of devices and the time of interconnectivity. And then we can also see our AP650 is hanging out off of our 440 G2 12P. And when we right click on that device, we can actually see additional details and statistics for clients connected. And so we give you a couple of different options that you can actually click on here, like disconnecting a client or doing further troubleshooting within the topology pane view here as well. And then one other thing to note, if you look on our map at the very right-hand side, we have a third-party device. So we can actually visualize third-party device connectivity back to an Exos or VOS switch. So in this case, our 440 G2 is actually connected through a third-party router as shown in the topology map. So if you scroll down, we can also get a tabular view for the wireless clients associated along to this location. So we can see things, host name, IP address of the client, MAC. And if we click on one of those clients, we can get additional details for that particular client. So as the client stays connected to the network and as they start doing more and more things, the data will be populated here that will show you the access point they're connected to, and other useful information. So if we scroll down a little bit, we can actually look at additional information such as our client trail, which access point this particular client was connected to. And again, as they continue to stay on the network, we can gain additional health that will help you troubleshoot the client, such as where they were, the time of day that they were connected to the access point, was DHCP working properly, DNS and default gateway access. And so that wraps up pretty much the effortless experience. And so we're really excited to be showing this to you. Not only the fact that you can manage wireless access points, but can also manage your switching components is something that we're really excited about. So we look forward to continuing to roll out more and more features beyond what you've seen. And we hope that you enjoy the rest of Extreme Connect. Thank you.